Multiple social media influencers were just charged by the SEC for allegedly defrauding people of over $110 million. In this video, I'm going to break down some of the allegations against these Finfluencers, and you'll see kind of the shenanigans that were happening both behind the scenes and in the faces of individuals. Now, full disclaimer, I'm a finance YouTuber, I'm an influencer, and I'm on YouTube. That also makes me a Finfluencer, which is really disgusting to have any kind of association with that, because I don't even know these people. What I do know, though, is that I am a licensed financial advisor. I operate an active ETF. I'm a real estate broker. I used to be a licensed lender, a licensed contractor, and I have a real estate startup that has raised nearly $30 million, and we've got a Reg A offering coming soon. The point of me saying that is I'm under the scrutiny of a lot of different regulatory organizations, and my goal is not to provide you personalized financial insight in this video. It's just to say that I'm doing my best to try to make sure that everything I'm doing is above board with the SEC and the law. And that is what everybody should strive to do. Personally, I think in the future, anyone making financial YouTube videos will probably have to be licensed. I just happen to already have that checked off. In the meantime, let's hop into the complaint, because it's fascinating. So here you can see this is the Securities and Exchange Commission in a complaint. A complaint is a fancy name for a lawsuit filed today. You can see that some of the creators involved here are names like Mr. Zach Morris, whose name is neither Zach nor Morris. We've got PJ Matlock, Tommy Coops, Mystic Mac, Hugh Hiney, whatever. Laid back, yeah. Deity of Dips and Ultra Calls, as well as the stock sniper. Boy, okay. So let's look at the allegations and then get into some specific scenarios. I've already done the hard work for us. For years, these individuals have promoted themselves as stock picking gurus. In reality, these individuals, and this is all an allegation by the SEC against these individuals. I want to make that clear. I imagine they have some form of defenses, but the stuff in here is pretty damning. But then again, that's what lawsuits look like. The party that files a lawsuit, it's like, oh, damn, that looks intense. And anyway, we'll let you make your own determination. And clearly, the court of law. But in reality, the SEC says these individuals are seasoned stock manipulators. They identify stocks ripe for manipulation, which, just so you know, are usually small capitalization stocks. When a company is less than $1 billion in market cap, it could easily be manipulated by influencers on the internet. Be careful about stocks under $1 billion of assets under management. And if you, or not assets under management, of market capitalization. If you're under $250 million, it gets even worse. So they would identify stocks ripe for manipulation, acquire substantial positions in these stocks, and then recommend those stocks as good investments to their followers in Twitter, in online stock trading forums they run, and on podcasts. They encourage their followers to purchase the selected stocks, often claiming that they likewise have bought or intend to buy these stocks themselves and hold them. However, instead, the defendants then sell their shares into the demand that their deceptive promotions generate. And this apparently has occurred between January 2020 and now, and 8 defendants earned approximately $100 million from the stock manipulation scheme. And the SEC is looking for all of that money back, plus civil penalties. Whoo boy, this is intense. So let's go ahead and get past how many followers they had, all between somewhere between 100,000 and 500,000 followers. So let's take a look at the summary of the scheme. The summary suggests that these individuals would often publish false and misleading information. This can be something like, oh, the CEO said this, we think this is gonna happen. Oh, we think the stock is gonna rally in after hours, where liquidity is really thin. So you take a small, thinly traded stock and then you go into after hours where there's even less liquidity. Woo, ripe for disaster. These are red flags to be aware of if you are an investor. Small caps and after hours, dangerous words. And then these individuals would essentially pump the value of these stocks up which could be something like saying, hey, I think ticker symbol XYZ is going to go to the moon in after hours. You look at it, it's a $50 million market cap. In after hours, there's even less liquidity, so the order book gets eaten up and the stock can move very, very quickly with few trades. It's important to understand how order books work in the stock market. Think about it in a very simplistic view. If there's only one person willing to sell shares in the after hours of ticker XYZ that's selling for $10, and that person's willing to sell 2 shares at $10 and 100 shares at $15, and somebody comes in and says, market order, good to cancel, good for after hours with a high limit of $20 or whatever, and somebody comes in and says, I want to buy 105 shares, the order book is going to deploy purchases at $10 and then absorb all of those 100 shares at $15, and it will look like that stock moved 50%, just like that, because of a thinly traded order book. Now, generally during market hours on largely traded stocks, the order book is much thicker, and it can take billions of dollars to make any kind of actual substantial moves on very heavily traded large caps or even index funds, for example. You generally don't move those sorts of stocks. That's why the smaller ones are so susceptible to this. Anyway, the defendants then provided each other an opportunity to buy these thinly traded stocks. They all got in prior to the manipulation. Then they would promote the stocks, generating demand for the stocks to inflate the share prices, and then they would dump on their followers, even lying to their followers about why certain stocks declined, while it was actually them causing the declines by dumping their shares on their followers. They would also lie to people about losing money on stocks when they had actually profited handsomely. They say here, indeed, in private chats and surreptitiously secretly recorded conversations, they bragged and laughed about making profits at the expense of their followers. This is so dirty. Like, this is the kind of stuff that deserves to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The defendants each included disclaimers on their Twitter accounts that they were not providing stock recommendations or financial advice. Yeah, providing a disclaimer provides you absolutely no exemption from breaking the law. You can't disclaim one thing, but then break the law. That does you no good. In fact, if you look, for example, at my Twitter, I don't even have a disclaimer on there because I know everything I do, any action I do, will stand on its own. And every action I take individually will be determined as either breaking the law or not. And of course, my goal and my belief is that I'm always making sure I'm well in compliance with the law. My goal is to continue to be in compliance with the law. And this is why, for example, when I say, hey, I'm going to provide potentially financial advice, but it's non-personal and it's for free here on YouTube, that's a very important clarification that I am a licensed financial advisor. And I could say, hey, I think investing in real estate is a very sound financial decision for most people. It might not be right for you. But again, people use this as a cop-out, and then they pump stocks and illegally lie to people. That's when you get in trouble. When you lie, oh boy, the SEC is coming for you. If you say you're selling a stock, you better be selling that stock. If you say you're holding a stock, you better be holding that stock. Otherwise, they are coming for you. As they should, because otherwise you're manipulating the market, and that's just wrong. So they would tweet things like, let's all get rich, let's escape the 9 to 5, let's get to financial freedom, let's get FU money, oh, hope everybody banked on our trades. And here's some of the things that they would do to try to tweet out their lifestyle, oh, driving around in Lambos and Glambos and fancy lifestyle, whatever. And they would portray these images while at the same time lying to their audience. And this is where, take a listen to this. While they would portray misleading trading methods accessible to anyone to potentially build significant wealth, the defendants repeatedly sold shares in direct contradiction to their public statements to their followers on social media. This is a practice known as pumping, the pump and dump. And the SEC gives some wonderful examples here. For example, on March 1st, there were conversations where they talked about manipulating a certain ticker, GTT. And they talked literally in chats about saying things like this: we're robbing effing idiots of their money. And they're talking about getting caught. They know what they're doing is wrong behind the scenes. But not only were there conversations like this alleged in the complaint, but they would say things like this: ABVC, strange action today. bag holder here with the little wavy hand suggesting that this person is a bag holder honestly doesn't make sense. Ran from 330 to 440 yesterday and to 420s today, but faded due to shorts and scalpers. How dare the short sellers? It's always somebody else manipulating the stock. Raw. I'm sure they made money, but I hold my word and I don't dump on anyone. And then what does the SEC say right after that? Here, the individual claims he lost money and that he was a bag holder and that others caused the share price to drop and that he would not dump shares on anyone. But what did the individual actually do? The individual actually made a profit of nearly $69,000 the day he posted that tweet by dumping his shares while recommending the stock to his followers, saying he was essentially a diamond-handing bag holder and with them while lying to their faces. So disgusting, so disingenuous. It's so wrong. You know, when I sold my stock portfolio in January of 2020 and 2022, and I told everybody about it, I got a lot of hate for selling because people were like, wait, Kevin, we thought we were holding. I'm like, this is why I'm transparent, is because in the short term, people might be mad at you, but you have to be honest with people. You cannot lie to people. You must be honest to people, even if it's hard news. It's better to give hard news and be honest than to lie. But these people weren't about to give hard news because they knew exactly what they were doing, because they were scammers. These are true definitions of fraud, assuming what the SEC here is alleging is true. And it looks pretty damning. Here's another one. AREC stopped me, guys. Sorry about this one. I lost 20K here. Looks like 1.5 million shares were sold over 5. Sorry to anyone who took losses with me, right? Had great news this morning, but didn't want to go. I'll look for a better one for us. So talks about losing 20,000, actually made more than $7,000 dumping the stock that day, and over $6,000 selling his shares the day before that. Yikes. But it's not just examples like this. There are more examples, like on CEI stock, another thinly traded retail stock. In the past, I've warned about falling momentum. And when you get into these thinly traded stocks, they usually only run for as long as there's momentum and hype around them. And now we come to find out that it's because there are people who are pumping these stocks just to dump them. It's a fraud. Within the next 4 minutes after posting, adding CEI with you, that's cheap. Within the next 4 minutes, Matt sold 165,000 shares. Another individual, Deal, sold 60,000 shares. Cooperman sold 240,000 shares as the price rose by a penny per share. All of them then posted about CEI again. CEI, with the CEO saying no reverse split, they have to think it will get to $1. I feel good with swinging this one for a week for a run-up. No reverse split on CEI. Adding CEI here for a swing. Last time it touched these levels on the daily, we saw a move of 3+ lots. This is basically saying, hey, look, if they're not going to do a reverse split, the company must be really excited about the future potential, so let's diamond hand this thing. Meanwhile, they've already dumped. So disgusting. Or, actually, they had already dumped, but then the SEC alleges immediately after these posts, they began selling more shares. Within 2 minutes, one had sold 95,000 shares, another 198,000, another one selling all remaining 165,000 shares. This is literally fraud. I mean, it's on Twitter, on your phone, posting a tweet, putting it down, and then going over, hitting the sell button. It's so disgusting because it's the opposite. It's one thing. It's totally one thing. If you're like, okay, I'm in my Weeble, I'm gonna sell Tesla, you sell all your Tesla, and then you tweet out, yo, I just sold all Tesla, I'm freaked out about Elon Musk, right? That's one thing. You're being honest. This is the complete opposite. It's fraudulent. It's so disgusting. So, while Deal was promoting CEI on Twitter, he was simultaneously selling his shares, liquidating 60,000 shares. Matlock, again, over and over again. Wasn't just here. Look at this. CEI, let's squeeze. What did they do? Continued to sell shares to their audience. Despite telling his followers he was holding shares and intended to add to the position in after hours, Deal immediately began selling. This is just straight fraud. These folks deserve to be next to Sam Bankman-Fried with how disgusting this is. Either way, I think this stock will eventually get back to $1, but I'll gracefully make my exit around $1. When did they exit? Around 50 cents, almost immediately after. Scumbag. I added more CEI swing this morning. Over the next 2 minutes, what happened? Sold. Liars, liars, liars. Nose grows long. Despite telling his followers he would be adding all day to a swing, Deal soon began selling his entire position. I read this whole thing, okay? I'm just giving you the highlights here. Too many of you act like little bitches when there's a dip. It's all part of the game. And then right after that tweet, what happened? More selling. I ain't selling under a 3 believe that probably, right? And then what happened? Despite telling his followers that he was holding overnight because a huge day is coming, already began to dump shares. CEI gets ready for the next leg up. We're aiming for $4 today. Ooh, he waited a whole 5 minutes this time. Then sold all his shares. CEI shorts are screwed. See you at $10. Well, I dump now. Scumbags. This is disgusting. These messages also contain specific price targets, claiming that they were holding onto a stock because we were about to hit a new high. However, in contrast to their claims, they were holding ALZN stocks, and even adding to their position, they were selling all or most of their stock below the price targets. The same was true of VISL, and within minutes, all of them sold, of telling their participants that they were amassing shares. Look at this one. VISL yawn, wake me up at $10. And then in a chat room, hey guys, I think my tweet worked. I think my tweet definitely helped it out right here. And then immediately began selling shares for a 19-cent gain per share on a penny stock. Keep in mind, any stock under $5 is considered a penny stock. Even though generally we think of a penny stock, we think $1 or less. Technically, a stock under $5 is a penny stock. Knight tweeted, all hail VISL and the piss missile, and then went right back to selling. These people are just straight up D-bags. I smell an after-hours gapper. After-hours gapper is kind of like what I described with the order book, where all of a sudden you get like a big gap up because somebody ate up the order book. I smell an after-hours gapper, implying that people might make big money in the after-hours, thinly traded, and then started dump, 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 dump. I mean, this goes on to Torch, TRCH, another meme stock that momentumed up. Torch, I smacked 50K on this news. She's going to all-time highs. Immediately after the tweet, sold 30,000 shares. I mean, this is so in-depth. ABVC Biopharma, we got you there too. Over and over and over again. And the SEC is pissed. And they're looking for a trial to bring these people to justice. Honestly, good job, SEC. This is impressive. They put together a bitchin' case here. And if all that stuff is true, jail. That deserves jail. People need to be made an example of. You have to be honest with people. As hard as it is, you know, especially in like bear markets and recessions, people like stonks go down. That's what happens, right? Like times are tough, times are painful. Just don't lie to people. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting manipulation, and I'm so proud of the SEC for this. And this is the kind of organization that I want to make sure I respect to the end, because all financial YouTubers should look at the SEC and go and send thank you letters and say thank you for getting the trash and the people who sink the reputation of Finfluencers out of the industry. They gotta go. It's disgusting. Thank you so much for watching. Folks, we'll see you in the next one.